Hi, I'm Christy Schiller, and I'm the founder of K9s4COPs. K9s4COPs is a nonprofit that provides trained canine partners to law enforcement agencies and schools across the world. When I started this mission a decade ago, I had no idea how many adventures we'd have, the friendships we'd make, and the lives we would impact through the nearly 250 canines we've granted to law enforcement agencies across the globe. We've even made a footprint in France and Africa. But the most important aspect of it all is that our canines have seized well over $500 million in contraband from the hands of felons, drug traffickers, and dealers worldwide, consequently making the streets and the schools safer for all of us today, and more importantly, our future generation, our children. While that number does seem pretty remarkable, our work is far from over, which is why we need your help. We need your support. Times have changed, and so has the climate of our nation. The pandemic hit, and so were nonprofits like us. We had to cancel every in-person fundraising events that are critical to funding what we do. In an effort to keep our mission afloat, we had to shift gears and certainly think outside the box. In October, we kickstarted our very first virtual fundraising event, Leashed 2020. Many of you watched and participated. Thank you. Because of you, our organization raised over $70,000.
Are you ready for Leashed 2020, Luna?
Hey, do you like walking your dog? We're walking our dog right now. Her name is Winnie. Say hi.
We're out here on this beautiful night supporting K9s4COPs.
K9s4COPs helps raise funds to purchase fully trained canines for police departments and schools across the globe.
Bucky the Bulldog and Baby and I are out on a walk enjoying the beautiful fall weather, and we're participating in the virtual dog walk for K9s4COPs.
I'm with my whole family. There's Daddy, Mama, Ainsley, and Hudson. And especially, hi.
So that we can get more police trained dogs in our communities and our schools to better protect all of us.
Canines can cost anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000 and can exceed $45,000. The investment of a police canine far outweighs that number. Take a listen to what Center Police Department Sergeant Chris Knowlton, as well as K9s4COPs Inspiration and Harris County Canine Handler Ted Dolan have to say about their lives, how they changed once we granted canines to their agencies.
Drugs are definitely a problem. With all my training that I've had in the past, work as a narcotics detective and stuff, I've gone to the DEA Academy. Even the DEA agents there in Quantico, Virginia, were aware of Shelby County. They know how big of an issue PCP is there. And then also methamphetamine. So when when they ask everybody at the beginning of the day, first day of class, where are you from? And I say Center, Texas. And they said, is that the one in Shelby County? And you tell them yes, and then they're like, oh wow. I think it's crazy when you think of the agencies that don't have a canine division. If an agency understood what a canine brings to the table, every agency would try getting them.
Stand.
Canines are just like police officers. Their intuition, their animal instincts, it's phenomenal. It's not just detecting narcotics, getting narcotics off the street, or detecting where the bad guys ran if they fled, or finding missing kids.
This gift of this dog from K9s4COPs it's not just for me and my little department, and we go a lot of places and do a lot of things for folks. We have done sweeps for the Super Bowl, presidential motorcades, presidential debates, World Series. We're working these events. You know, some people see it, some people don't. Some people don't realize there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we do.
Good boy, if you don't get it.
Our crime rate in my jurisdiction has gone down greatly.
When crowds start to gather and close in on a group of police officers and you're outnumbered, if you pull a dog out of a car, they start to back up.
When I first started, you could see all the drug dealers lining the street. They'd be fighting each other to try to get to sell to whoever pulled up. And it's definitely not that way now.
Nothing has been invented yet that does what dogs do. The government and private entities have spent billions of dollars trying to mimic and find something that can be as consistent and as good as dogs, and they can't do it.
You know that you're a successful officer when your wife forwards you Facebook post where someone had tagged where they did a public service announcement about me and my K9 saying, "Be careful, Officer Knowlton's on the street." If that fear makes their job a lot harder and gets them to shut down even just for a short period of time, then you're doing your job. That makes you feel good because you know what, they don't have that sense of they can do whatever they want. They know that we're out there. It's not if, but when we find them and when we catch them.
Sergeant Knowlton has an extraordinary story. He says the war on drugs hit close to home for him. His desire to become a law enforcement officer started with a mother who was a drug addict. I caught up with Knowlton, and you'll never guess what he had to say about his canine partner, Elliot, who was generously granted through our partnerships with Minnesota Vikings player Brian Robinson and his Reel 'Em In Foundation.
I was raised in foster care, and before getting in foster care, I lived with a mother who was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and had an officer actually come to me in school one day, and I guess because the teachers kind of knew something was going on, and the cop came and talked to me, and I just remember him being really nice, and he said, if you see your mom do anything bad again, you call me and I'll come to you. And it wasn't very much, very far in the future where I saw my mom shooting up with heroin, and so I called him, and sure enough, he showed up. He wasn't even on duty. I remember that because he was just wearing regular clothes, and the other officers were there. And
how old were you?
I was probably in the 3rd grade, I think. Wow. About in the 3rd grade, yeah. So, to that day, that officer saved my life. It gave me another shot at life because had I not been put in foster care, there's no way I'd be where I am now. And I knew from that moment on I wanted to be in law enforcement. I wanted to help.
And save more lives.
If I can impact one kid the way I was impacted by an officer, then my life is worth it. I've fulfilled, what I think is probably the greatest accomplishment, to be able to push that legacy on, give someone else a chance and see the good in the world. And maybe that person's going to be a doctor that finds the cure for the COVID, or maybe they're going to be some politician that gets world peace. It's just, you never know what the possibilities are endless. So, so when the kids approach me and to see their face light up, you see that in their eyes. And if I just pray to God, if I'm impacting, or if Elliot can impact that kid and they want to be a canine handler, we always can use more officers. Right. It's not exactly a profession that a lot of people are wanting to jump out and get into.
Sergeant Knowlton's story of resilience is not only remarkable, but it's so inspirational and the fuel that drives us to continue working tirelessly to fundraise at K9s4COPs. Our mission is to see schools across the country implement the presence of a police canine, to have every law enforcement agency learn the benefit and reap the rewards of a K9s4COPs dog in their department. The nose knows, and Harris County Constable Precinct 1 Deputy Madison Sperry knows this all too well.
Canine officers have one of the most dangerous jobs out of all of law enforcement. Because when a suspect runs or is hiding in a building, we are the ones who are making entry first. It's very dangerous because if somebody's waiting to ambush us, we're the first ones in. Not only is the dog going to get hit, but usually the handler is right behind them. Stuff can happen in the blink of an eye. I'm a female, so I'm already at a disadvantage. I work the streets of Houston at night. So when I step out of the car, most suspects just see a female getting out of the car. But when I pull my partner, K9 Le Mans, out, it changes the game. They no longer want to buck the system with me. They see the dog and it's like, okay, you know, I'll give up. We're not able to do our job as efficiently without these dogs. So I have K9 Le Mans. He was donated by K9s4COPs, and his namesake is after Lori and Tracy Crone. I was fortunate to receive him. He is a Belgian Malinois who is trained in both narcotics and criminal apprehension and handler protection. He's a dual-purpose patrol dog. He is very, very good at what he does on the street. We do find a lot of narcotics. We get a lot of narcotics off the street. These dogs' noses are so strong, they're able to tell us whether it's, you know, one narcotic pill or 100 pounds of narcotics, or if a suspect is hiding behind a door, or if a suspect, you know, runs through a building or through the woods. The dog is able to locate that faster than we are able to just by ourselves. It's absolutely critical to have canines. These agencies would not have these dogs without K9s4COPs. Children are now bringing narcotics into schools. Ecstasy, MDMA pills that look like SpongeBob, that look like the Minions. They're bringing those in and passing them out to other kids, and they don't know what they're doing. They just see, you know, cute little Minion-shaped vitamin-looking pills, and so they're passing those out, and kids are now getting a hold of these drugs. Parents know when they're dropping their child off at school, if their school district has a dog, they know whether, okay, this dog's gonna find any narcotics, any explosives, any guns that potentially might be brought in. So the parents have a sense of security, you know, and a sense of, okay, my child is gonna be okay at this school. Whether it's a school district, whether it's a parent, whether it's a community center, whether it's us police officers, nobody can be too safe and everybody has to take extra precaution. So it's better to be safe than sorry. I would rather have a dog and not need it than not have a dog and need it. The amount of dogs that K9s4COPs has gifted to all of the Houston, Harris County agencies is beyond, I mean, you can't even count that high. K9s4COPs is critical to not only Harris County, but agencies across the country. These dogs cost anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a piece. Most people can't just donate $10,000 or $20,000 on their own. So it takes a lot of people donating small amounts, large amounts, any amount that they really can donate, because it all adds up and it all makes an impact, regardless if you donate $5 or $500 or $5,000. All of it goes towards the ultimate goal of purchasing these dogs. So the donations are critical. K9s4COPs cannot place these dogs on the street in your communities without the help of your donations.
The presence of a police canine has not only made the streets safer in Houston, Texas, but Sergeant Knowlton says he wishes agencies like his would follow suit.
I couldn't put a value or begin to say how grateful I am for K9s4COPs. When the dog that they gifted me, my partner, my best friend, saved my life. Because of him, I was able to go home that night and hug my wife. It's a gut punch because it really hits home just how dangerous our job is and stuff. If it wasn't for K9s4COPs, I wouldn't be talking today. I know there's a reason I'm alive. There's more people I can go out there and help. Every penny counts towards getting the funds that are needed for these canines. They're getting drugs off the street, they're getting guns off the street, bombs off the street. They're tracking suspects that may have done something pretty bad, finding these missing kids that wandered off into the woods. Even if you can only donate $5 or $10, you don't think that's much. Well, there's 1,000 other people just like you that thinks $5 or $10 isn't that much, but they still donate it. And before you know it, there's a dog on the street. How can you put a value on saving someone's life?
How can you put a value on saving someone's life? You can't. What an incredible story of hope. And speaking of hope, we hope that you will continue to support our mission. Like Knowlton mentioned in the video, $5 or even $10 a month helps. We thank each and every one of you who has supported us financially and even support our mission through our social media channels. Let's keep the momentum going so that we can make 2021 the most prosperous than ever before. Go to www.K9s4COPs.org and see how you can get involved.